tired of my best friend ghosting me, so I finally cut ties.
Snip, snip.
This is no longer Casper the friendly ghost. This is Casper the unfriended ghost.
Ooh.
I, female 32, have been no contact with my ex-best friend, female 32, Nikki, since the last time she traveled across continents to visit me. Part 1. A long backstory. Nikki and I met in our first year of university, 2008, and were casual friends for about 7 years. Our dormitories were next to each other. We had many mutual friends, and we generally had a positive connection. By the way, this comes from Playful for Video, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/okstorytime subreddit. So, after we graduated, I relocated to the UK, and a few friends, including Nikki, moved to Australia. We lost contact for a while, but eventually reconnected. Over time, I became best friends with Nikki as I planned to move to Australia after spending 2 years in the UK. Relevant side story, my ex-boyfriend and I broke up after almost 10 years of dating, and I wanted to move far away to prevent us from getting back together. Since he planned to move to Sydney, I chose Melbourne. However...
Oh, you said it like it.
You said it the way that they say it. Melbourne.
All right.
Not Melbourne.
Disgusting.
Melbourne.
However, after arriving in Melbourne, he decided to tour for a bit before heading to Sydney, but then chose to stay in Melbourne instead. Because of this, I had to give up months of planning and move to Sydney. Fortunately, Nikki lived in Sydney, so I stayed with her. After a week, I returned to Melbourne because I had already planned my life there and generally preferred it. During my time in Sydney, Nikki and I had an amazing time catching up on our lives. I admired, respected, and cherished her deeply. She was selfless and giving, and I truly believe she deserved the best in life. Naturally, I wanted to give her as much love and support as possible. Our friendship made my life better, and she gave me confidence, especially after my breakup. This is where the fairy tale friendship ended. After a year and a half, Nikki suddenly ghosted me without any explanation. I was completely lost because we spoke multiple times daily about everything. We made video calls for hours, helped each other pick outfits for dates or special events, and talked about work, family, friends, and life. We even gossiped freely because we were each other's safe space. My other close friend, Indy, female 35, and I tried to brainstorm what could have happened, but there were no signs of resentment or conflict. Nikki only maintained enough contact for me to know she was safe. I couldn't figure out what I had done wrong, and I hated how lost I felt. The situation made me wonder if I was someone who deserved to be abandoned, though I never voiced that thought to anyone. After 3 weeks, she finally called me while I was at work. I cared about Nikki so much that I asked for emergency leave to take her call. I tried to sound casual, but internally I was so relieved to hear from her. She told me she felt uncomfortable with our friendship because she believed the kind of bond we shared should be reserved for a romantic partner, and she didn't see me that way. What?
That's an interesting twist.
Whoa. What?
She's like, I think we're actually too cool that I want to date you now, so we can't.
What's that? It's a twist?
It's a twist?
Yeah.
That's insane. That's a really crazy take on friendship.
Yeah.
To be like, wow, we are too freaking close.
We are like
Yeah,
so
step
freaking
back.
close. It's almost like I want to kiss you.
She insinuated that I had romantic feelings for her. I told her that she could have just asked me directly if I was sapphic, bi, or attracted to her. The last time I checked, I was still a straight woman attracted to men, and I had no idea where this assumption came from. Or she could be projecting.
Yeah, maybe she's like, low-key, I got a quest on you.
And she's nervous about that.
But you actually have a quest on me.
I should add that I hadn't dated anyone while we were close friends because I believe in healing before moving on. However, Nikki had a different view. She thought the next relationship helps you heal.
Hey, where'd you read that? Who told you that? Take a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Be in a relationship with yourself.
Don't jump into relationships right after the first, right after going from the other one.
Be with yourself.
Part 2. After a long conversation, we agreed that regardless of the situation, we needed to communicate and clarify things instead of assuming. We resumed our friendship and things were normal again for the next 2 years, even after I relocated to Canada. For my birthday after the vid, Nikki sent me the most thoughtful gift. A box filled with everything I loved, along with a heartfelt note, this will be relevant later. Once in Canada, I finally felt ready to date again. I had taken 2 years after my breakup to work on myself, and now I was open to new relationships. I went on dates and even had a fling. As always, Nikki knew all the details, just as I knew about all her short-term relationships. We never spared details. Then things got weird again. I genuinely wanted Nikki to take at least a few weeks for herself between relationships, but she didn't believe in that. She ghosted me for the second time. this time for 2 weeks. It didn't hurt as much as the first time, but when she returned, I slowly learned that she had started dating someone just 3 days after her last breakup. She hadn't told me because she assumed I would judge her. Once again, she hinted that I was preventing her from dating because of my supposed sapphicism, but I was still straight, and I had never expressed romantic feelings for her or any other woman. I genuinely hoped this new guy would be the one for her, but unfortunately, he turned out to be a creep who almost attacked her. This was an incredibly painful situation for both of us. Ugh. Part 3, at the time, I was enrolled in a career transition program in Canada that kept me busy from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. This was very different from before because I had initially worked remotely and could talk to Nikki throughout the day. Given the 17-hour time difference between Australia and Canada, I made sure to talk to Nikki before 9 a.m. and immediately after 5 p.m. I was also happy that for once, she wasn't jumping into another relationship, and I wanted to support her emotionally. This is where I might be the a-hole.
Oh boy.
After about 3 to 4 weeks of being there for Nikki every single day, I tried to take some time for myself. Even though we spent hours talking daily, we still had our own lives. However, now that she wasn't dating, I had to fill that extra time for her, which left me unable to enjoy my own interests or maintain other friendships. I'm also a huge BTS fan, and during this time, I wasn't able to watch their online concerts or keep up with them like I usually did. I missed them.
Dang.
That
That's Big Time Rush.
That was Big Time Rush.
Not this Dynamite. Come on.
Which in a way, that's BTR instead of BTS, QRS. They're right next to each
Not
other.
the
That's really the
same.
closest
Not-
acronym I could have possibly chosen.
Not the same. Come on.
I just want a little acknowledgement of my brilliance there.
You.
Sure.
Big Time Rush to BTS? No.
One day, while talking to Nikki, I decided to watch some BTS music videos at the same time. This was normal for us. We often did things together on the phone, like watching movies. I truly thought it would be fine. But Nikki wanted my undivided attention. I really wanted to catch up on BTS, but I knew telling her that would upset her. Nikki's like, I have something important to tell you. And Opie's like,
BTS time! BTS time! It's BTS!
Yeah. Like, can you tell me in maybe like 7 minutes,
Yeah.
8 minutes?
Smooth
I
like
have a couple
butter.
songs.
However, she was incredibly sharp and picked up on my distraction. She abruptly left the call, even though she claimed she wasn't upset.
She was incredibly sharp, and meanwhile, it's like OP's not responding for like 20 seconds, just staring at BTS.
Yeah, she's like, 1 second.
Or not, but it's like, it's funny. I feel like.
I decided to use that time to catch up on everything I had been neglecting before calling her the next day, BTS. But when I did, she was cold. Over the next few days, there was a tension between us via text. I emotionally disconnected because I didn't want her words to hurt me, and I knew she was in a vulnerable state. I thought we would get through it, and I expected she would eventually apologize for the hurtful things she had said. So I remained present for her, but she spiraled. Maybe she sensed my emotional withdrawal because for the third time, she ghosted me. I know she cared about me too, so I couldn't understand why she wanted me to show that I was hurt by her words. I tried to reach out in the following weeks, but she stayed distant. After 2 months, I realized she had thrown our friendship away.
I don't know if I agree with all of this.
Agree with what?
Well, it's like, I know ghosting is like a loose term, but it's like, how do you get ghosted 3 times?
Yeah.
Like, usually only get ghosted once. If there's communication maintained in between there, sure, there could be like a level of like withdrawal or like, you know, like you feel like a barrier has been put up, but in terms of like ghosting,
I think it's ghosting because I think that like any long stretch where you're expecting where communication goes from normal to, and then it changes drastically, I think that is a type of ghosting. I think there are levels to ghosting, in my opinion.
You need a book on that immediately.
Yeah.
You need a Gen Zer to write that book, please. But some of this just feels like a miscommunications or like misunderstanding.
I think that,
to me, like,
okay, I'm gonna say something crazy. Conspiracy theory.
Oh!
I think that OP's friend is experiencing like she is I think she's actually into OP, and she's like putting all of this emphasis on the relationship, and it's like incredibly important to her, but she's not willing to accept herself, and so she's like going into all these relationships like one after another because she's like, I'm straight, I'm a straight woman, no, there's nothing else here, but she's actually in love with OP, and that's why everything is like really hitting her.
I like this conspiracy.
Thank you.
I think it's a good one.
Thanks. But let's get into this. Coming to terms with the fact that there was nothing I could do to fix it hurt just as much as the end of my 10-year relationship. And there is a part 4. So let's get into it.
Let's go.
Fast forward to 10 months later. My mom passed away in September of 2021. Oh, this was the worst thing that had ever happened in my life, so my brain automatically went to I need Nikki mode. I called her several times, but she didn't pick up. She called me the next day after seeing posts on social media, and even though I was sad that she ignored me all this time, I was so happy and felt safe to express my pain because she was the only one who could understand. Unfortunately, Nikki told me she had also lost her mom 2 weeks prior. And I was dumbfounded for 2 reasons. First, because I was sorry she was in as much pain as I was. And secondly, I was heartbroken that she didn't think of me as someone she could have leaned on. These 2 emotions have led us to where we are now because even though I still love her, we have not been friends since our moms passed 3 years ago. We haven't actually been friends for 4 years since she ghosted me for the 3rd time. I came to Reddit because after our moms passed, she suddenly wanted to rekindle our friendship. It is a fact that she also knows the value of us being in each other's lives, and any sane person would miss that. But no matter how hard she tried to get closer, I couldn't bring myself to be friends with her again. You know, you don't owe her that.
No, but it feels like part of that might be mixed up in like the grief that
absolutely
they went through, like when they lost their mothers.
I mean, OP's experiencing probably the grief of losing her mother, but then also the probably reliving the grief of losing her friend. But
which still, I don't understand how you get ghosted 3 times, and it's like they also were in communication about their moms passing within 2 weeks of each other. It's like it feels like there was a comment here where it's like it almost feels like they're expecting each other to be able to read their minds.
Absolutely,
and it's like somebody just needs to like. Be like, hey, what's up? Direct communication. We need clear, direct communication here.
I think sometimes when you are so close for so long, you do expect that kind of like mind reading thing. And then you're like, well, unbelievable. They did that to me and they didn't even freaking like it. Yeah, I think it happens a lot in really, really close friendships. And it does take communication to fix that. And it's easy to not communicate about it. A few weeks after we lost our moms, she began dating a friend who consoled her and was going to get married 3 months after. Woo! I may be wrong about this timeline. Nikki wanted me to become her old bestie again and be excited for our friendship and the wedding, but I couldn't. We had not been friends, and when we reconnected, I was mourning. We mourned differently, and my way to cope was being isolated. I quit my remote job and became withdrawn. I eventually got another job to take me away from my home for months on end because I was always scared at home alone and started having panic attacks and nightmares. I threw myself into work and mourned my mom's death for 2 years with my family because my single mom was at the center of everything for us. I did not communicate with most friends for about a year and lost a lot of friends because I was busy mourning for a long time. Therefore, becoming besties and supporting a wedding was not on my mind, especially because we were no longer friends for 10 months before our moms passed away. And the final straw was in June 2023. I kept thinking about Nikki and went through the box that she had given me for my birthday in 2020. I read the note and cried a little because I missed her. I decided to send her a message. We had not talked since December of 2021 by this point, chatted briefly between September to December. Nikki was elated to receive my message. She told me she thought a lot about sending me a message too because she was coming to visit Canada in 2 weeks. Excellent timing because I had started integrating back into society. First of all, talking to Nikki always makes me feel like everything in my life is stable and fine, and I was overwhelmed with emotion. But hearing that she was coming to Canada made me so excited that I could have flown into the sky. At the same time, I was scared. Nikki makes me feel happy and scared ever since all the ghostings, so my brain tells me to be guarded with her, but my heart is always happy to have our friendship. Indy tried her best to manage my expectations with Nikki visiting me in 2 weeks, and I tried my best to take her advice. But I had not seen Nikki since I left Sydney and returned to Melbourne in 2017. I was excited to see her, excited to talk to her again, and even for a few minutes, and excited to do things for/with her in my city, also excited to meet her now husband. I was 100% ready to forget the past and continue our friendship like nothing had happened. Nikki came and I was so happy but emotionally guarded. I maintained my composure very intentionally and a lot happened over that week. We quickly realized that we had to address the elephant in our hearts.
You're so close to the right saying.
The elephant in our hearts.
The elephant in the room is the elephant in our heart.
Is it an elephant in my heart?
And that elephant has to fart.
That's why.
So her husband encouraged her to spend a whole day with me in my house. The summary of the day was that we had so much fun with stories until I noticed Nikki briefly and subtly looking down on me for the way I lived my life. She was always the more ambitious one between us. I am also very ambitious. I lost a lot of drive after my mom passed away. I'm not struggling in any way, and I have everything I need to live comfortably and above the average income earners since I'm not a big spender. I closed up a little after this, but when we eventually got to the topic of all the ghostings and abandonment, we concluded that I am sensitive to being abandoned and find it difficult to get back after someone gives me the feeling. So I became guarded and emotionally disconnected. We also realized that Nikki was a person who was comfortable giving love, but had a difficult time receiving it. Lastly, I realized that I value Nikki too much to not give her all the love I think she deserves, but for us to be friends, I would need to learn to stop. There would be no need for our friendship if I could not love my friend, and it breaks my heart to realize that such a magnificent person puts a cap on the love she gets to receive. We mutually agreed to part ways, but I knew I would respond if she said hi or eventually reach out to her again. So I decided to remove her from all my social media and delete her contact. Whoa. This is an intense friendship breakup.
Yeah, but I mean, like, wait, I feel like we were right there.
Yeah,
what happened?
We were having the communication.
What happened?
We were having the communication.
We were there. What happened? And then you were like, actually, I think for reasons in my own head, I'm just going to like completely cut her off. Because I can't love her, right?
But you know who can love you, right?
Me.
Us.
Yeah.
And you can listen to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio to get your lovin' in and search up Storytime. But there is a little bit left to the story. But do you have any final thoughts?
I don't like this.
Yeah.
OP, I think you just like, I don't know. Maybe OP was just really scared. Maybe OP's trying to rationalize in their own head like why they did that. But it's like, it doesn't feel like the move that needed to be made at that moment. I feel like you guys were right there.
Yeah, I feel like we were having the things and we were having the talks, and then Nikki realized that she puts a cap on the love that she can receive, and it could have been like, okay, you know what, we figured it out.
Yeah, I understand your nature better. But instead it was like, all right, well, I guess I'll never speak to you.
I understand your nature and I gotta go. Bye. I know she would relocate to Canada in 2025, and I keep wondering about this because if she chooses to stay in my city, we could potentially meet up again, and I have no strength to resist being friends with her again, but I don't want to get hurt. What would I do when she arrives in a few months? I have no idea. So am I the a-hole for going no contact with her after all this, even though I still love her but don't want to get hurt? And that is the end of that story.